All right. Another day in America. Today's my day off. Trying to trying to just kind of I don't know, maintain equilibrium in this weird society. It's a little tough. It's not good for the mental and spiritual and any kind of good health to have this Trumpism thing. You know, like how the f do we get out of it? This famously racist, sexist, incompetent, corrupt businessman who was very, very famous throughout my childhood becomes a game show host. At the height of the show's fame, he starts saying really racist, stupid shit. It's covered as news. It becomes the impetus of another presidential campaign. He did it every 4 years as a publicity stunt, but he usually wasn't taken too seriously. Democrat, Reformed, and then Republican he ran as, but he never got too far. But yeah, 2016, that famously racist, sexist, dipshit guy who was born with a crap ton of money. The specific amount doesn't really matter. It's about 2 to 300 million. If you inherit $300 million, what you do is you put $100 million of it into a fixed annuity earning about 3%. Annuitize the investment so it pays you $200,000 a month. That'll run in perpetuity. That's forever. Yeah, so Trump had that. It's called a trust fund. Trust fund most likely invested in things like that. With Trump's living allowance, he was able to live a fancy life, buy fancy things, flying fancy jets, have, gold everywhere. When I was a little kid, I saw him on Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous with Robin Leach. Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous with Robin Leach. And Trump was on there showing off his gold house. At the time, my grandma was living in a trailer park. I used to go, over the river and through the woods to get to grandmother's house. Literally, But anyway, but at the same time, then I'm kind of living. That's kind of my peer group, working class, blue collar people, Navy town. There was this guy on TV that lived in a literal gold house. So when you're a kid and you see that guy on TV, it certainly locks in the brain. There's all kinds of characters on TV, and when I was a kid in the '80s, and Trump was one of them. He was a very strange, weird character. My earliest impressions of him were just that he was an arrogant prick, because he just had a shit ton of money, and just his face, he was just kind of snooty, He was just, he didn't really seem to do much of anything, but he just showed off how much money he had, and he liked to say how great he was, and then he always had shit to say about other people. And he always had real vulgar things to say about women, too, and he was real racist, too. 9 years old, when I was 9, I saw him on television demanding that 5 teenagers be executed. He knew they were guilty because of their skin color. He was a famous racist, sexist asshole who had a fuck ton of money that he used to buy stuff and live fancily. And then to buy an image. You can buy fame if you're really wealthy. It's a privilege for you. Kardashians. Why are they famous? Because they're wealthy. That's if you want to be famous and you're wealthy, just some money will be exchanged, yeah. But yeah, you can just kind of buy fame if you want it. Regular people have to, earn it or get some sort of notoriety. Anyway, Trump was just a notorious figure throughout my childhood. I remember my sense of relief when the news told us, the people of the United States of America, in the late 1990s, I was still in high school, that U.S. banks were going to stop lending his company's money. He had been bankrupt so many times that the cat was out of the bag now, if you didn't already know. He's a con man. He's not good at running businesses. He's just a wealthy guy because he was born wealthy. He's able to make an initial fairly large investment of his own personal money that seems large to the average person, say $2-3 million. But when you have a net worth of $300 million and you have a living allowance that's $200,000 per month, it's not really anything. It's not really any risk at all. It's non-risk. You can lose the $2 million outright and it doesn't really matter. But, you know, yeah, banks will do, yeah. So they would, the banks would lend the company money. The company would pay Trump a salary. The company doesn't really do much of anything. Eventually goes bankrupt. He did this several times, over and over and over again. You know, known criminal associations abundant throughout the years. A book was written about him called The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump. He's a known sociopathic narcissist. I don't really know anything good to say about him. I've been aware of him since I was a little boy. I'm a follower of the teachings of Jesus. Went through confirmation as a kid. I'm also a knight in the Legion of Honor, known as Sigma Nu. Principles of Sigma Nu are love, truth, and honor. So no, I'm not a Donald John Trump supporter. Never have been, never will be. And I just told you why. I don't really understand people that go to church every Sunday proclaiming an allegiance to Jesus and then also proclaim in the same breath their allegiance to a very, 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 very famous Antichrist. One by the name of Donald John Trump. He's been very famous for a long time. I don't know how that part gets missed by the news or how they forget to kind of remind us or something, you know, like there needs to be a steady drumbeat of who that guy always has been in his day-to-day. And yeah, we get the daily updates and it's fucking horrifying, you know, because the government is now in his image. Famously, I wouldn't wish his life on anyone. You know, the only empathy I have for him is that he was trained by his father to be the way that he is. I relate more to Fred Trump Jr., Donald Trump's older brother, who died young, way too young. I relate more to his story. If I was born into such a family, I'd probably have turned out more like Fred Trump. Because yeah, it's that important to get father's approval, you know? I'm not going to be a fucking sociopath. So you get excommunicated, you get excommunicated. It means you don't get your wealth and fortune. Well, okay. Peace of mind is more important. So, but for Trump, though, it was to appease his father. And his father was also a sociopath, ruthless, cruel man, and only cared about money and not really much else. And so Trump would make his father very proud, you know. But and now our country's government is that one of just purely caring about money, purely in the just a dollar cents profit for big massive entities and the people who already have the most. They're doing well, so that means the economy's great. Trump's aloof to the common experience. He has no idea. He's never lived it. You know, he internally hates the fact that his biggest supporters are, you know, regular people. Like, because he has a tough time relating to him. I've always found it fascinating that so many regular people identify with Trump. It's more like they wish they could be like that if they had that kind of money or something, you know. Like, he's very aloof to working class experience. He was born extremely wealthy, not just a few million. You know, things were set in stone for him long ago, and now his kids are the same way. You know, because hundreds of millions is hundreds of millions, and it doesn't really matter what it says on paper, whether it's 400 million or 1 billion. It's, yeah, you got the right wealth advisors, which he does. You can set things in stone with annuities and such that you have a living allowance that pays for your extravagant lifestyle in perpetuity, you know. And then you can exercise all your worst demons, I guess. And that's what Trump does. He's rotten to the core. There's not really anything good about him. And I hope people figure that out soon and just fire him from his job. His job right now is president, and he's not very good at it. He should have never got it in the first place, but that's another story. You know, whatever. Like, but he needs to get fired, and that needs to happen sooner than later. And he can whine and complain about it, but, like, you know, he also just needs to be committed to a home, you know, one that takes care of the elderly. So I hope and pray that Donald John Trump gets fired from his job and that people start making smarter decisions and aspiring to be better and having more faith in themselves. You know, you are a better, harder worker than Donald John Trump, person. It don't even much matter who you are. He was one of our worst. You know, so he's got to stop stooping so low to, you know, praise Trump. Why are you doing that? You know, look up. You know, like what, shoot for the stars. You know, like don't yeah. I don't really understand the appeal of Trump. Like, why do it? What are you getting out of it? Like, cut the dead weight. You know, he needs to get fired, and I hope people just aspire to be better. You know, breathe in the day. Onward and upward, peaceful and quickly. Amen.